Hello guys, I hope you all are doing good. I am Vaishali Kikan and we are discussing the EMFT. Today in this video, we are going to talk about the Earnshaw and the Thompson's theorem. Both of them are related to the energy of endpoint system. So if you have still not watched the previous video where I talked about the energy of endpoint charge system, you have to go back, watch it first and then come to this video. So we are going to start our discussion with the Earnshaw's theorem and then we will proceed towards the Thompson's theorem. Right, so now here in the Earnshaw's theorem, it is stated that a static distribution of charge cannot be in a stable equilibrium unless it is acted upon with the other forces. So what does this statement means? So it means that if I have some system of charges which are in the stable equilibrium, let's suppose we have a triangle, equilibrium triangle, and we are having q charges at the three vertices. So at the equilibrium triangle, at the three vertices, right, at here and also at here, we will be having q charges each. Right, now we will be having the minus q by under root 3 charge at the center. So at the center I will be having minus q upon under root 3 charge. But if I have this system, this is present only in the equilibrium at this particular condition. If I change the location of any of this charge, any of this force charge has changed their location, then these charges cannot come back on their own in the stable equilibrium. So I hope you understood the basics of the Earnshaw's theorem. A static distribution of charge can never be in a stable equilibrium unless it is acted upon with the other forces. First of all, I have to act them upon with the other forces, then I have to bring them back in this equilibrium. So this is not a stable equilibrium. Right, like if I push a spring and it will go back to its primary location as soon as I have removed the force, it is stable equilibrium. But if I push the charge, it will not go back to its parent location, right? It is unstable equilibrium. So disturbance is not going to restore the actual location. We will not be having any restoring force and the configuration will not return to the equilibrium condition once again, right? So now here we can consider the atoms which are not having any static distribution. We will be having only dynamic model of the atoms. So according to the Earnshaw's theorem, atoms will always be having the dynamic model. We can never have the static model of the atom. Now in the previous video we talked about the energy. So energy was given by the formula 1 upon 8 pi epsilon naught summation over I summation over j qi qj upon r vector ij, with r vector ij can be represented as ri minus rj magnitude, right? So now we have to find out the stable equilibrium point. We are now proving that how the stable equilibrium is not possible. Now for the stable equilibrium, we are going to find out the minimum energy point, right? So minimum energy is found out when we know del E by del xi is equal to del E by del yi is equal to del E by del x del zi is equal to 0. That is the first order differentiation is 0. When the first order differentiation is 0, we can consider it to be a maxima or minima, right? So now I have to consider the minimum energy, right? For the minimum energy, del square E by del x square is equal to del square E by del y square is equal to del square E by del z square. It should be greater than 0 only, right? So for the minimum energy point, the second order differentiation should be greater than 0. Now let's consider the energy once again. So what is del square E? Del E we will be considering later on. First of all, we will be seeing what is del square E. If the del square E is not satisfying this condition, then we should not look toward the del E by del xi, right? So del square E is equal to 1 upon 8 pi epsilon naught summation over j summation over k qj qk del I square upon rjk, right? So 1 upon rjk. So this is del I square 1 upon rjk. So we have taken the del square here towards the 1 upon rjk, right? So what I have done, I have taken the del square E and I have moved del with this 1 upon r ij, right? So now del square 1 upon r jk is equal to 0. This is the identity, and even you can put any r jk and you can solve it and you can find it will be always and always equal to 0. So del square I 1 upon r jk will always be equal to 0, and because this is equal to 0, del square E will be equal to 0, but del square E should be equal to greater than equal to 0. It should not be equal to 0, it should always be greater than 0. So condition of the stable equilibrium is not satisfied, right? But we can have the local condition, right? We can have the local equilibrium. Local equilibrium can always be achieved. We can have the local maxima, local minima, which is going to give me the unstable equilibrium, like I showed you the case of 3 charges at the 3 vertices of the equilateral triangle. Now this point is known as the saddle point. We all have seen the horseshoe. At the horseshoe we have the saddle point, right? So it is known as saddle. So I'm going to tell you how we have the saddle in the graphs as well. So energy of the system is minimum with respect to some parameter and maximum with some parameter. The saddle point is a point where we have the minima as well as maxima. We have a local minima over there, we have a local maxima also over there. How? So you can see this graph. So you can see this is my saddle point, right? If I see from the upside from this graph, this is the minima, but if I see this graph, right, this is a 3D graph, if I see this graph, this is a local maxima. So this point is the saddle point. So this is the next representation. So here we will be having the local maxima, right? Here we will be having local maxima, and here at this point I will be having the saddle point, right? So at this point we cannot have the maxima, we cannot have the minima, right? If I see from this graph, from this location, if I see, we will be having the maxima over here. But if I see from this side, I will be having the minima over here. And this is the reason it is known as the saddle point, right? Now I hope you understood we will never be having the stable equilibrium according to the Earnshaw's theorem. Now coming to the Thompson's theorem. Now for the Thompson's theorem, the statement is that for a system of conductors, we have a definite amount of charge on that. We are taking some conductors, we are putting some charges on it. The distribution over each conductor is such that each one of them is equipotential when the energy of the system is minimum. So now I have some conductors, I am putting some charges on the conductors, and the energy will be minimum, and we will be getting that in equipotential condition. When the energy is minimum, equipotential condition will be achieved. So its proof does not demand that we will always and always consider the vacuum condition, right? It does not demand that the conductors lie in vacuum. So this can remain in homogeneous dielectric or fixed distribution of space also, right? So now here we are considering the E naught, epsilon naught, so we are considering the vacuum condition only, but it is not like always and always desired. So del dot E can be represented as rho upon epsilon naught. Now here E is represented at a fixed point. Now I can represent this Gauss's law at some another location as well. So rho upon epsilon naught will be equal to del dot E dash as well. So we are having this at any other location in the space as well. Now when I talked about the energy and the self energy, I gave you the relation E dash minus E was equal to half epsilon naught E square minus E dash square minus E square dB. So this was the relation that we have discussed in the previous video. So now let's focus on E dash minus E square. So how I can represent this equation? I can represent this equation as E dash square plus 2E square, because here 2E square minus E square would be E square. So actually its integration would be E dash square plus E square minus 2E dash E, right? This should be the square, right? This is the identity of the square, E dash square plus E square minus 2E dash E. But now here I am representing this E square as 2E square minus E square, right? So I will be representing it like this, and now I will be taking 2E square and minus 2E dash E, and let's see and let's rearrange them. So if I took both of them, I can be representing it like E dot E minus E dash. So okay, I have taken E common from both of them. 2 was a constant, so it cannot be bothered. So E dot E minus E dash integration over the dV. So how I can represent it? E is equal to minus del phi, where phi is the potential. This is a relation between E and potential. So let's put the value of E is equal to minus del phi over here. So we will be having minus integration del phi E minus E dash dV. So here you can see we have again the formula which we represented in the previous video. So you know the identity of the divergence, and you can expand it. It can be represented as minus integration del dot phi E minus E dash dV plus integration over phi del dot E minus E dash dV, right? So this is the identity of the divergence that we have used. Now here we have used the divergence theorem. Again we are going to use the divergence theorem. According to the divergence theorem, I can convert the surface integration into the volume integration, but I have to take the del dot. Here we have del dot, we have volume integration, so I can go back in the divergence theorem. I am moving backwards in the divergence theorem, so I can represent it as minus integration over the surface, and I can remove this del dot. I will be having phi E minus E dash dot n cap ds, and this I have represented as it is integration over phi del dot E minus E dash dV. Right, so now here we all know that at the surface boundary of the conductor phi is constant, right? At the conductor, at the boundary of the conductor phi is always and always constant. So this can be represented as summation of phi I, right? So it can be represented as the summation also because it's a constant value, and we will be having summation of phi I, and then we can have integration of E minus EI n cap ds, right? So this is this representation that we have done. Now integral of each conductor is going to vanish because EI dot n cap, we are not having the electric field in the normal direction, so E dot n cap ds is going to vanish, and this is how this integral is going to become 0, right? So we have the total charge which is fixed, and we will never be having any normal electric field, so this equation is going to become 0. So this first part is going to become 0. Now let's look at the second part. So here we have integration phi del dot E minus E dash dV. So here this also will become 0 because here we will not be having any fixed, or we will even not be having any kind of space charge. There would not be any fixed space charge, or there would not be any space charge. We are considering the charge which is present, it is present in the conductor only, there would no charge in the space, right? So E dash minus E can be represented as half epsilon naught E dash square minus E square dV, right? So we have removed these two terms, so what is left? E dash square minus E square. These two terms are only the terms which are left. So now I can represent half epsilon naught E dash minus E square dV will always be greater than 0, and this is the Thompson's theorem, right? So if I consider the self energy also, then it is always greater than 0. Now here this E is the self energy, right? I hope you understood each and everything that I have discussed in this video. If you have any doubt, you can put the doubt in the comment, and I will be trying to resolve your doubt as soon as possible. I hope you like this session. If you like it, please push the like button, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, and also give me your feedback. Thank you so much.